Hello everybody, welcome to the Cold and Dark channel, and welcome back. We are back. We have been working on some different material for the channel, ranging from educational to potential flight sim to whatever we want to put on this channel. But in the world of aviation, as everybody knows, accidents happen every day. Incidents happen every day. And we had a very interesting one occur 2 days ago. So on January 10th, 2025, we had an incident at the Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport involving Delta Airlines Flight 2668. So that's what we're going to jump into today, and we'll discuss it from an airport's perspective, as well as from a pilot's perspective. So let's get started. So we can thank Simon Radecki over at the Aviation Herald for this report. But a Delta Airlines 757-300 registration November 589er November Whiskey performing Delta Airlines Flight 2668 from Atlanta, Georgia up to Minneapolis, Minnesota with 206 people on board was accelerating for takeoff on runway 9 left at Atlanta when the crew rejected the takeoff at about 85 knots over the ground due to a failure of the right-hand engine. For those aviation nerds out there, Delta Airlines has, so the 757, 300, and the 200 come in two different variants, one with Pratt & Whitney, one with Rolls-Royce. All of Delta's aircraft, or all of their 757s at least, have the Pratt & Whitney 2040 engines, so a variant of the 2040 engine. So that's what they had on this aircraft. It is unclear whether there was an engine fire at any point. The aircraft slowed safely and stopped on the runway near Taxiway Sierra about 1,800 meters or 5,900 feet down the runway. Tower reported seeing no smoke and fire from the aircraft. Emergency services, however, upon arrival, reported flames and smoke from the right-hand engine. The aircraft was evacuated via all, so left side and right side, slides. 4 people received injuries during the evacuation, and 1 was taken to the hospital. So as a flight crew, as a captain, you typically, unless you have to, you try not to evacuate the aircraft via the slides, because 9 times out of 10 somebody gets hurt. The slides are not gentle; they are at a pretty steep angle, and I've seen, I would say, quite funny videos, not of people during actual emergencies, but they were testing them and just face planting. Especially like a 7-4. They showed there was a video that I saw, and the guy, as soon as he hit his foot stopped, then he went flying and ended up face planting. That is also kind of why they tell you not to bring any stuff or any baggage. There was an MD-80 a few months back that they evacuated with the slides, and individual was holding their bag, and because they were holding their bag and couldn't really stand up correctly off the slide, they ended up face planting as well. So you try to avoid that because people don't listen. Let's put it that way. From an airport operations perspective, this was handled about as well as I saw. As somebody who has dealt with this type of incident, where they have a full evacuation on the runway, it is very complex. It's a very complex issue that, because you have to basically herd cats. Let's call it what it is. Passengers in a panicked state will run wherever to get away from the aircraft. Now, at that time, I can almost guarantee, once they evacuated, tower was already showing 9 left closed. it is a formality once the ops agents get out there that they close the runway down. And it's not just, because we are, whatever. There's two reasons why we close a runway down. First of all, to protect the people, so we don't have things that aren't supposed to happen, and you prevent runway incursions. A lot of these ARF guys, they come from having worked at Atlanta. A lot of these ARF guys come right out of the city. A lot of them have never been to an airport nor operated on an airport, and they get this surge of adrenaline going, and we've had it in some cases where they make a mistake and they end up on a runway when they're not supposed to. So, in my experience, it was very obvious that very early on you close that runway down to allow these emergency services to get onto the runway without having to call, without having to do anything. Plus, you make it official. So the next slide that we're going to look at is kind of the route that they took. So from the next video we're going to watch, it appears that they entered 9 left at Mike 2, which is the standard departure point for the runway. The runway is 12,000, as you can see, almost 12,400 feet long. So cutting it to Mike 2, you have plenty of distance. Little history lesson here before we move on. So prior to the Whiskey Loop, as you can see, the Whiskey Loop here, this didn't used to exist. This came about in 22 or 23 when I was there. But prior to that, they would basically taxi aircraft back here with airplanes taking off here. And this was called the Papa Loop. This was a way to kind of expedite traffic because you didn't have the Victor Loop at the time. Now that they have the Whiskey Loop helps. However, when it was designed, it can only hold, if I remember correctly, it basically can only hold a 7.5 or smaller. So with the heavies, the 7.4s, the 777s, all that, they had designed it originally to be able to accommodate those aircraft, to get them, around and get them lined up. The heavies that come across Papa, they would send them down the Whiskey Loop and line them up here. Well, they can't really do that due to design criteria not being met. I can go into a long podcast on that. I don't think that there is a time and a place for that, and I don't think right now is that. So, but the standard departure point for runway 9 left, unless otherwise needed, unless you're like a heavy A350, is going to be taxiway Mike 2. About 1,000 feet down the runway. So you still have 11,300 feet. So, in the video it appears, and we'll see the video in the next slide, that they were told to line up and wait, 9 left Mike 2, in which they did, and at some point they were given, alright, 9 left Mike 2, cleared for takeoff, and they were cleared for takeoff. You'll see in the video that they just keep rolling, and out of the left engine, you'll see bits of snow, or what appears to be snow, at least from my perspective, coming through the engine. So I would be curious if what the front of that right engine looks like, what the front of the left engine looks like. Did they possibly ingest a ice fall? Again, I don't know specifics. I'm just bringing up ideas based on how that runway looked. Was there an ice ball that, or the lesser option, light? Did that get sucked up into the wind? Now, they say they observed fire. If that engine was still on and it was still compressor stalling, you're going to have engine or fire shooting out of that engine. And you're going to have smoke. Now, it said in the report, if we go back a slide, that they reported flames and smoke coming from the right-hand engine. Was that smoke the snow? That's a legitimate concern and that's a legitimate concern or observation. Excuse me. So we're going to be using a lot of video and a lot of resources. With Atlanta being the world's busiest airport, you have a lot of YouTubers and plane spotters to take video, more than really any other airport I've seen, which can be viable in kind of figuring out and kind of watching an event happen. So a good example is, like I said, when I was at Atlanta, we had an incident, 7.5, blew a tire coming out of Vegas, was coming into land, and they caught me on, or they were coming in, one of the gear didn't come down, they go around, drop the gear hydraulically, and they hear me close the runway once they land. I always waited till they touched down because, obviously, if you land on a closed runway, it's a runway incursion, and I'm not going to do that to the pilots. But once the airplane's on the ground, we can close the runway shortly after. So, in this scenario, like I said, you got a 300. It's a long pencil. But as I was saying, at Atlanta, you have a lot of plane spotters. So one of our friends, Matt Cochran, he is a very interesting individual. Like I said, he catches a lot of stuff coming out of Atlanta because he is Atlanta based, and his commentary is quite legendary. Shout out to Matt there. But we're not going to actually listen to it. We're actually not going to listen to the audio because I think it's just important. So, as you can see at the start of the video, this aircraft, and you'll hear in the ATC footage, or in the ATC video that is next from Vast Aviation, this is a Delta 1334, I believe, and they were about 200 pounds from having to go back to the gate, so Tower's telling them, hey, Delta 1334, 9 left, Mach 2, line up and wait, after they've already cleared Delta 2668 for departure. So there it goes, beginning the takeoff roll. As you can see, it's a pretty snowy and not great day in Atlanta, Georgia. As you can see, I do not know when the last time that runway was cleared. But that's why I said earlier in the slide, I would be curious, or earlier in the video, I would be curious to know what the front of those engines look like, because as you can see, it's the front nose gears trailing up snow, the mains are trailing up snow, the engines are blowing snow. When was the last time this runway was cleared? And were there windrows? Were there snow piles? Were there damage? Was there damage to that runway's lighting system? that could have. This can all play a factor in this incident. So let's just continue. As I said, so sorry about that. So as I was saying before, so you saw what just went through the engine. That is why I kind of say, was there ice? Was there snow? Was there anything that could have damaged that engine on the takeoff? That is something the FAA is actually going to be looking at. They're going to be looking at was that runway supposed to be open? And it's going to fall on the airport operator. I will say that. Was that runway good enough to be open? And if so, why does it look like this? If it wasn't, why were they using it? And as you can see, more stuff going through the engine. You can't see the engine that was impacted, so the right engine, the one on this side of the aircraft, was the one that allegedly caught on fire. But you see coming out of the left engine, snow, and that could be smoke. It. But at this point, it doesn't appear that anything is going wrong. To be honest, probably the pilots at this point don't know that anything's doing anything to this engine and or this engine. But that's going to change here momentarily. So, as you saw there, they hit a big patch of snow. And it was probably shortly after this, you'll see they're still going, and you can kind of see them start slowing down, and there goes the speed brakes. Now, as the airplane starts slowing down, I didn't look at this entire video, but so as you'll see, you got the airplane here on none left. You got this guy who's waiting for his takeoff clearance, but that's not going to happen anytime soon here, because you have a disabled aircraft on there, and pretty soon it'll turn into a really disabled aircraft. So you might be saying here, what is going on taxiway? Are those aircraft waiting to depart? Are they waiting for gates? Whatever. No, those airplanes are waiting to go to the de-icing pads. So some of them might be waiting for depart, or some of them might be waiting for gates, whatever it might be. But typically, that is where they will pull aircraft to go into the Delta pads, into the E-gate pads over on E. And so, as he shows in this video, I mean, this is just miserable. Here comes the ARF equipment. And during that time, that is when they tell the cabin crew or the flight crew, hey, you got something coming out of that right engine. And as you can see, they've already started the evacuation. Slides are out. And pretty much outside of that, it's pretty much uneventful. Like I said, as an airport operations person, you're running out there, you're closing the runway, you are ensuring that people stay where they're supposed to. With the weather being as it is, and I know how Delta acts there. It can take a little bit of time, so I would be curious to see the final report of how long it took for them to evacuate or to collect all the people, and all that. But like I said, so the next video is obviously the air traffic control.
Tower Delta 1334.
Go ahead.
How long are we looking at? We're literally within like 200 pounds of our fuel situation.
Okay, so what does that mean in time-wise?
Less than 5 minutes here, Delta 1334.
Does it need to be airborne?
Yeah.
Okay, stand by.
Roger. Hey, Tower Delta 2668, we're ready to go.
Delta 2668, I'm going to ask you, well, stand by one.
Alright, so as you hear, you got Delta 1334 behind Delta 2668. I'm guessing for whatever reason, operational reasons, they're probably running numbers or whatever. And this airplane is telling Tower, hey, we got to get going or else. Not threatening the ground controller or the tower controller there, but basically saying, hey, if we don't get moving here, we're going to go back to the gate.
Op 3, Tower, did you copy that?
Hey, Tower, it's Op.
Op 3, Tower, did you copy that?
Hey, Tower, it's Op 1 now in front of the brooms. Op 3 might be busy, but I heard that you got another departure you need to get out.
Yeah, I've got the second aircraft needs to be airborne in 5 minutes. I'm not sure if you guys are able to clear or not now.
Okay, stand by. Let me try to clear it for you. Stand by.
Yeah, 2668, we don't have long either.
Yeah, I'm trying to get them off the runway.
Okay, so as you can hear, they were in the process of brooming or cleaning off that runway. So not sure what the situation was, why they had somebody lined up or whatever. Especially what the status of 8 right was. Especially for the flight going to Minnie. Typically, at Atlanta, is anybody going north or west or taking off the north side, anybody going south or east are coming off of this side or off the center complex, unless they need an operational reason. Now, they're going from Atlanta to Minnie. They're not heavy. Were they clearing a right or whatever? But it sounds like they are trying to get the runway cleared and get the runway back to tower. But you can kind of hear in the tower's voice, "Hey, I got 2 airplanes. This could get the brooms and sweepers off." Could that have caused them to rush, cause the runway not to be well enough for the runway to be open, and cause this to happen? Again, I'm not assigning blame. I'm not saying anything at all. Just kind of throwing out some spitball reasons as to why this could happen.
Sure.
It looks like they're clearing out. You have line of weight 9 left, Mike 2.
Is that for Delta 2668?
Yes, number 1, 9 left, Mike 2, line of weight.
9 left, Mike 2, line up weight, Delta 2668.
So as you can hear, they were told to line up a lane, and as the snow crew was clearing downfield, that is a standard procedure that they'll line up. So that basically, once Ops 1 in this case says, "Hey, we are off," they can send these 2 birds.
show it open.
Op 3.
Op 3, all equipment's off and on, nothing, go ahead, show it open.
Op 3, thank you. Delta 2668 departure frequency is 3347, RNAV to ticket. Runway 9 left, clear for takeoff.
RNAV to ticket, 9 left, Mike 2.
Alright, so as you heard, it said Ops 3, but I believe that's Ops 1. Or, it said Ops 1, but I believe it was Ops 3. It just depends on who's in what vehicle. And at the time. Now, standard is usually Ops 1 is the supervisor on the shift, and Ops 2, 3, 7, whatever it might be, are the Rep 2s, as we call them. But it appears that and in this case, it didn't necessarily matter. But so they aren't gonna have to picket. 9 left, 9 2, clear for takeoff. Basically, what that is just a waypoint on the departure. Gets them going in the right direction. So they were clear for takeoff, and they were told that their departure frequency is going to be 133.47. They're never going to make it there, but they were clear for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff, 3347, Delta 2668.
Thanks. Last runway condition report I had was good.
So they're reporting it good. As you saw by the video, that is subjective. Or that is, subjective to personal opinion, as are all. To me, it didn't look good. Braking might be good, but there was still stuff on that. But they acknowledged it. They were happy with it, and so they took the departure.
Delta 1334 tower departure frequency is. I'm not sure if you guys are able to clear.
Okay, Op 3, all 47, Delta 2668.
Thanks. Last runway condition report I left, Mike 2 there.
Alright, so as you can see, 9 left, Mike 2, line up and wait for Delta 1334. It was this guy.
Alright, line up 9 left, Mike 2 and 3347, Delta 1334.
So at this point, they say they're aborting their takeoff, and a standard question that Atlanta Tower will ask is, Roger, do you require any assistance? The reason they ask that, and you might say it's a stupid question, it's a valid question. Depending on how fast you're going, they might have gotten a light or whatever on the roll, and they would have no issue with the aircraft. Just, hey, we got a light, we need to just pull off, get onto the taxiway again, make sure we're good to go, and then they can go for departure. So they always ask, hey, do you require any assistance? And obviously at this point, the pilots are still trying to figure out what just happened. That's why they say standby. That's why they, you might say, oh, well, they should have asked for assistance right then and there, or whatever. They're trying to figure out what their instruments are showing. So that's why they say standby.
Delta 2668, depending on what it is, try to be a right turn off, just your planning.
2668, roll trucks, please.
Okay, can I get the nature of the emergency?
I think we done engine failure.
Okay.
Alright, so you hear him kind of in a panicked voice say, hey, roll the trucks. Now, he kind of said it nonchalant. You kind of heard a little bit of urgency in his voice as well. To which the tower controller replied, nature of the emergency. Now, For those who have never worked an incident like this, and go, well, it doesn't matter, just get the trucks out there. You don't know you don't know if you're going out to hot brakes, you don't know if you're going to an engine failure, fire, tails broken off the airplane. So that's why they ask. Typically is to kind of figure out, to give the firefighters and the ops crews an idea of what just transpired out on that runway. So what as we would hear in the on our radios or in the office was, this is Atlanta Tower with an alert, probably 3 at this point, alert 2, alert 3. Yeah, probably on alert 3 at this point. On runway 9 left, engine failure. Basically, it would just give you the basic information. You go get in your vehicle, or in this case, I'm assuming the ops vehicle is near the runway still. And then they're going to get on the frequency that this airplane was on, so tower frequency. And they'll get the source, the nature of the emergency, and fuel on board. Is typically what we'll get coming up. Now that's for an alert 2, and potentially an alert 3. 9 times out of 10 though, when we had to deal with that kind of stuff, we would either, like if we didn't get a ring down, then we would just coordinate with Delta, hey, how many people are on board? Or if, let's say they came in with an emergency and became an alert 3, then we just call tower and say, hey, I know you I didn't hear it. Can we get souls and people and fuel? But at this point, she's just going, all right, I got the basic information. Hey, got an engine failure right side, and we got the trucks coming out.
Delta 1334, go ahead and make that next left turn at Tango, and then left on Mike.
Tango and then Mike, roger that, Delta 1334, no problem.
So you can kind of... Pilots are not very good at hiding their emotion. I think that guy's a little frustrated, but at the same time, he kind of just saw what just occurred right in front of him. That's kind of I'm not frustrated with you, I'm frustrated with the situation and the fact that I got to go back to the game. But in any case, obviously 9 left is not available to be used, so he is going to be going to Tango, which is somewhere by ramp 1, and joining Mike. Potentially, if they can make it to 9 right and out, or there's a lot of stuff that goes into the runway change, so they may will follow along, but I suspect they're going back.
Delta 2668, it doesn't appear there's any fire or smoke. We got the trucks coming. Do you know which engine it is?
The right.
Yeah, we don't have a clear view from here.
Okay, so as she says, basically it doesn't appear. In cases like this, you typically use very, very vague language. You say, hey, from my perspective, it doesn't appear. So then you're not liable for giving them bad information, right? Yeah, you don't have any fire coming out your right side. Meanwhile, there's fire. You just can't see it. So you try to be as informative, but at the same time be as vague as you can, just so you don't feed the wrong information. But they confirmed right side of the aircraft, and since the tower is somewhere over here, yeah, you're not gonna have view from the tower of that edge.
Op 3 headed that way? Op 3 tack?
That's Op 3.
Did you copy that?
No, copy.
Okay, you And you said it was the right engine.
Right engine number 2.
Delta 1334, does that mean you have to go back to the gate, you think?
Yeah, we're gonna have to go back to the gate. Where would you like to get situated, or just call ground and we'll figure out where they want us to go, Delta 1334?
Yeah, just hold position there. You're not in anybody's way. Let me coordinate.
Alright, we're gonna stop right here and you coordinate Delta 1334.
Alright, so just as we suspected, this guy's going back to the gate. You got Ops 3 coming to the aircraft. Told the number 2 engine. So when people say right, you think number 1, number 2. Number 1 is the left side. Number 2 is the right. So he, the ops agent here, says, oh, the number 2 engine. Which is exactly what it is.
Delta 2668, we got a report from somebody at the South Cargo that's de-icing, and they don't see there appears to be any smoke or fire.
So again, you have one of those airplanes that were down on the de-icing pad down here that said, hey, we don't see anything either on that aircraft from the side that they say that there's an issue.
Delta 1334, right, 10 Lima, then ground point 75. Fire chief, are you up?
Towers off 3.
Ops 3, go ahead.
There's no visible smoke from my point.
Copy.
Up tower, negative, negative. There's planes coming out the back of engine number 2.
Copy. Okay, we...
Alright, so, as you heard, the fire department actually wasn't the first person to declare that there was fire coming out of the number 2 engine. It appears that it was the ops agent there. So yeah, at this point, it's, obviously the pilots are listening to this, so they are hearing that there is a fire, and probably at this point they decided, hey, let's just evacuate the aircraft. But as you see, or as Tower clearly says here, hey, we got our ARF coming down your way, and they're entering the runway.
You've got the ARF just off your right, and they're entering the runway now.
And tower, there is smoke coming from engine number 2 now.
Delta 2668, there's an ARF vehicle. He's entering the runway right behind you now.
You said there's fire coming out of the right engine?
Yes, that's what they're showing.
Alright, we're gonna evacuate on the runway.
Ops 3, just confirm there is fire coming out of the right engine.
Planes coming out the back of the rear engine now. It's smoking. Number 2 engine.
Okay, Delta 2668, copy.
I got a tap action.
Fire chief.
Ready to company inspect for the emergency aircraft?
Okay, fire chief, it's Delta 2668. He's the aircraft that's docked on minor left, Boeing 75300, with engine failure. Number 2 engine on the right side.
Copy, boy. Alright, do we still have planes? Here on 9 left, Delta 2668. Practice.
ARF vehicles, can we get a confirmation? Is the fire put out on the right side?
We are evacuating on the runway.
Okay. Any ARF vehicles, can I get a confirmation?
So as you can see, in an event like this, it's pretty chaotic. You have the ops vehicle confirming that, hey, there is something coming out of the engine. You have the fire chief coming in late and causing kind of a not listening to this, the situation. Kind of just now they're starting to step on each other, and that's kind of where it always goes, right? Having worked in multiple events like this is where it usually breaks down. Is you're trying to pass on information to the airplane. Fire chief is trying to get it onto scene and get ahead of the scene and get all the information. You got the tower controller kind of trying to pass on to the information to the airplane. And the pilots are just going, all right, well, we heard there was fire on the right side. We're going to evacuate. Worst case scenario, they're not using that airplane again today. That's going into maintenance anyway, so even if the engine was not on fire anymore, and they were able to get it cooled down, they're having to go back to the gate anyway. This just kind of prolonged it a little bit, but I think it was the right move.
Confirmation, is there a fire potential for the engine?
Atlanta Tower, R4 is just getting to the scene. It looks like the fire is extinguished. We do have passengers evacuating onto the runway toward November. We're going to get some other vehicles out here to assist with evacuation.
Thank you.
That's affirmative. They're coming right in front of the arc truck.
Atlanta Tower Fire Chief.
Fire chief, then.
Fire Chief holding short of 9 left at Dixie. Requesting permission to proceed onto runway.
Fire chief, proceed on 9 left.
Fire Chief proceeding on 9 left. Fire Chief.
So, as you can see, again, it kind of breaks down. Things don't change. But as you can see, they've already evacuated the aircraft. The ARF agents coming on scene very, very late. It seems like they're behind the curve, right? And as a emergency responder, you never want to have that happen. That's all I can say on that one.
What else here?
Ops 0 ahead.
Yeah, we're gonna show runway 9 right closed at this time. 9 right is closed.
Ops 0, roger. We're showing 9 left and 9 right close.
Atlanta Tower, truck 41 at runway 9 right, 27 left, requesting permission to cross.
Truck 41, roger. Cross 9 right, and you can proceed on the 9 left for the emergency aircraft.
Receive, truck 41 proceeding onto runway into November.
Again, we try to be professional here at the Cold in the Dark channel. Some things never change. I'm going to stay professional on the radio transmissions here. But, yeah.
Ops 1, Tower, you up?
Ops 1's up.
Are you the one there with the brooms at 9 left and looks like Mike 18?
Yeah, I was with them. I kind of left them for a little while to come to the aircraft, but you need us to go anywhere?
I tell you what, whatever ops vehicle or ops personnel is able, I know y'all got y'all hands full with emergency down there, but if somebody's able to call the tower and on the landline and discuss with the supervisor about possibilities of focusing on 8 left, 8 right, they're looking to do that.
Okay, understand you want to try to get 8 left and 8 right back. We'll try to coordinate that, and I'll meet with the brooms.
Thank you.
Right, yeah.
From what I can see, the incident was handled pretty well for the ops department. The fire department, as always, could be better. But I'm going to give a shout out here to the Atlanta Ops Department once again on this channel. Excellent job. Seemed like they had their hands full. And that is what Ops is. Ops is basically controlled chaos. Trying to pat your head and rub your stomach at the same time. As you can see, they got a situation. You got 9 left, 9 right, 8 left and 8 right. They got snow on it. It's snowing hard. And then you have an incident like this where you got a full 206 souls evacuated. Props to the guys over and gals over at the Atlanta Ops Department. It's not easy. As somebody who has worked a full evacuation of an aircraft before, I can tell you that. We'll see what comes out of the NTSB report. So the NTSB report, they will release this obviously, and typically in about probably 30 days they'll release the preliminary, potentially what could have caused this incident. But once again, I will give props to the Atlanta Ops Department. Great bunch of guys and gals over there, and seems like it was a stressful situation, but handled perfectly. From all of us here at the Cold in the Dark channel, thank you for watching, thank you for listening, thank you for whatever. Feel free to comment down below your opinions, whether you like the analysis. Did I miss something? If you like the content on this channel, subscribe, like this video, subscribe to the channel. Like I said, we have a lot more coming to this channel in 2025. We are trying to make it better. We are trying our best to do it. But it starts with the support from our subscribers and from our likes and viewers. Once again, from the Cold and Dark channel, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.